This is the second part of the screencast for lesson 13. In this part of the screencast, we're going to look at aggregating the data in an array. So to aggregate means to reduce down to a single value or a collection of values. Now, during the lesson so far, we've looked at how we can filter arrays, so to limit the elements in the array based on some criteria. We've looked at how we can use the map method to transform elements in an array, and likewise we can use the reduce method on arrays to reduce the values down to an aggregate value. In this lesson we're going to look at how we can sum together all the elements in an array. So we're going to assume that they're numbers and we're going to simply add them together and produce the result. So the result is an aggregate of the data in the array. So let's assume that this is our array that we want to sum together all the numbers of. The first thing we're going to do is write our aggregate function. So this is the function that's going to do the work of adding together the numbers. Now, unlike the map and reduce methods, which accepted a function which in turn accepted a single parameter, the reduce method accepts a function that in turn accepts two parameters. One will be the current total, the other will be the new number. So let's define a new function called add. The first parameter will be total, so the current total. And the second parameter will be the new number. Now what I'm also going to do here is add some logging to this, just so we can see what's going on when it actually runs. So we're going to print out the value of each of these parameters. Now this is obviously a very simple aggregate function, so we simply need to return total plus num, like so. So we can add that function by pressing enter. What we want to do now is call the reduce method on the array we created earlier. Now the first parameter to that is going to be the function we've just created. Since we're passing a reference to the function rather than invoking the function, we don't include brackets after it, we simply provide its name. We also need to provide a second parameter, which is the initial value of the aggregation. So in this case, obviously it's going to be 0, but there might be other aggregate functions where the initial value wouldn't be 0. We can then call this like so. So if we look at this, we can see the very first time our add function was called, it was passed 0 and 122. The second time it was called, the total was 122 and it was passed 33. The third time it was called, the total was 155 and it was passed 12, and so on. And then at the very end, we can see that the result is returned, which is the total of all the numbers in the array, which is 300. This concludes the screencast for lesson 13.